Adults only at this table, my older brother Vincent announced, gesturing to the elegant dining room arrangement with the authority of a man who believed his word was law. You can sit with the kids since you haven't really achieved anything. No offense, but this conversation is for people with actual careers. My teenage daughter Amara watched me silently pick up my plate, her eyes blazing with indignation on my behalf. But why was I smiling as I settled among the children? And why did my brother's confident expression crumble when I handed him an envelope after dinner with the words, "Your mortgage holder wanted me to deliver this personally?" Vincent stared at the envelope like it contained a bomb. "What is this?" "Open it." The room had gone quiet. Parents, aunts, uncles, the whole Patterson family gathering frozen around their coffee and dessert. Vincent tore open the envelope and pulled out the letter. I watched his face drain of color as he read. This says the mortgage on this house was purchased by Meridian Holdings. That's correct. And that Meridian Holdings is requesting a meeting with the property owner regarding. He looked up. What is this? Meridian Holdings is my company, Vincent. I bought your mortgage from the bank 18 months ago. I smiled pleasantly. I own the house you just kicked me out of the adults' table for not achieving enough to deserve. The silence was deafening. I'd always been the family afterthought. The Patterson family measured worth in specific, visible ways. Professional titles, corner offices, impressive job descriptions that could be deployed at dinner parties. Vincent was a senior partner at a law firm. My sister Claudia ran the marketing department at a Fortune 500 company. Even my younger brother Marcus had climbed to VP of operations at a manufacturing firm. And then there was Eleanor, Ellie, the middle child who'd never found her footing. That was the family narrative, anyway. Ellie dropped out of business school. Ellie worked odd jobs. Ellie never settled into a real career. Ellie was the cautionary tale, the one parents referenced when encouraging their children to be more like Vincent or Claudia. What they didn't know, what I deliberately kept hidden for 15 years, was the truth behind those odd jobs. I discovered real estate by accident. At 24, broke and directionless, I'd taken a job as an assistant to a property investor named Margaret Chin. She was 73, sharp as a blade, and had built a $50 million portfolio from nothing through pure determination and strategic thinking. Margaret saw something in me that my family never had. "You're not unfocused," she told me once. "You're just focused on the wrong things, specifically trying to please people who'll never be satisfied. Stop that. Focus on building something instead." She taught me everything. How to identify undervalued properties, how to calculate returns, how to negotiate deals, how to see opportunity where others saw decay. When she retired, she sold me her company at a fraction of its value. Her final gift to the protege she'd never expected to find. I renamed it Meridian Holdings and got to work. By the time I was 40, my portfolio included 127 properties across 4 states. Commercial buildings, apartment complexes, single-family rentals, mixed-use developments. Meridian Holdings generated $8 million in annual revenue, employed 23 people, and had made me wealthy beyond anything my family could imagine. I kept it quiet, partly for privacy. I'd learned from Margaret that visible wealth attracted problems. Partly for protection. My children deserved normal lives, not the complications that came with obvious money. But mostly, I'd kept it hidden because I was tired of seeking validation from people who'd already decided I was worthless. Let them think I was a failure. I knew the truth. The truth was that I'd purchased Vincent's mortgage on a whim 18 months ago, when I discovered his bank was selling off a portfolio of residential loans. His was included almost accidentally, a house I recognized from family gatherings, attached to a loan I could acquire for investment purposes. I hadn't planned to do anything with it. Just another asset in my portfolio. Until he sent me to the kids' table. The Thanksgiving gathering was at Vincent's house, the house I now technically controlled. I'd arrived with Amara, 16, and increasingly aware of how the family treated me. She'd watched for years as I was overlooked at gatherings, interrupted in conversations, treated like a peripheral figure rather than a full member of the family. "Why do you even come to these things?" she'd asked in the car. "Because family matters. Even when they're difficult. They don't treat you like family. They treat me like what they think I am. That's not the same thing." She hadn't understood. But she would soon. The seating arrangement was Vincent's power play. The adults' table was the formal dining room. Partners, executives, people with impressive titles. The kids' table was the breakfast nook, Children, teenagers, and apparently, sisters who hadn't achieved enough to deserve real estate at the grown-up conversation. No offense, Vincent had said, though offense was clearly the intent. I picked up my plate and moved to the kids' table without protest. Amara followed, furious, but I squeezed her hand under the table. Watch, I whispered. And learn. The kids' table was actually delightful. I talked with my nieces and nephews about their lives, their dreams, their frustrations with parents who measured everything in achievements. They were refreshingly honest in ways adults had forgotten how to be. Aunt Ellie, what do you actually do? My nephew Marcus Jr. asked. Mom says you work in real estate, but she makes it sound boring. I buy buildings. Lots of them. Like houses. Houses, apartments, offices. A whole portfolio. That sounds cool. It is cool. Your mom just doesn't know the details. Dinner passed pleasantly. I ate good food, had genuine conversations, and let my siblings enjoy their exclusive adult table with its discussions of promotions and stock options and all the metrics they use to measure human worth. After dinner, I retrieved the envelope from my purse. Your mortgage holder wanted me to deliver this personally. The words hung in the air as Vincent processed the letter's contents. You own my mortgage? Meridian Holdings does. Which I own. So yes. Since when? 18 months. Your bank sold a portfolio of residential loans. Yours was included. Why didn't you tell me? Why would I? It was a business transaction. I buy lots of mortgages. I sat down across from him, calm while chaos erupted around us. But I thought tonight was an appropriate time to mention it, since you made it clear that achievement determines seating arrangements in this family. Claudia had gone pale. Ellie, what is Meridian Holdings? What are you talking about? My company owns 127 properties. About $85 million in assets, give or take. I smiled at their stunned faces. I've been running it for 15 years. You never asked what I actually did, so I never explained. That's impossible, Vincent sputtered. You can't. Can't what? Can't succeed without announcing it at every family gathering? Can't build something without your approval. I shook my head. I built something substantial while you were all deciding I was a failure. The difference is I didn't need an audience. The questions came rapid fire. How did I start? Margaret Chen's mentorship and a company I purchased at discount. Why the secrecy? Privacy, protection, and frankly, exhaustion with family judgment. Was the mortgage purchase a threat? No, it was an investment that happened to include a familiar property. What did I want now? Nothing. Just acknowledgement that their assumptions had been catastrophically wrong. You've been lying to us for 15 years, Claudia accused. I've been living my life without your commentary for 15 years. That's not lying, that's boundaries. But family shares things. Family also respects each other, supports each other, doesn't banish people to kids' tables because their achievements aren't impressive enough. I looked around the room. I stopped sharing my life with you because every time I tried, you dismissed it. Ellie's doing something with houses. Ellie has another scheme. You decided who I was decades ago and never updated your assessment. My mother, silent until now, spoke up. Eleanor, we had no idea. You had plenty of ideas, Mom. They were just wrong. I stood up. I'm not angry. I'm not even hurt anymore. I just wanted you to know, finally, what you've been looking at all these years. Not the failure you imagined. A woman who built an empire while you weren't paying attention. Amara was the one who broke the silence. My mom is the most successful person in this room, she said, her teenage voice carrying clearly. She's been hiding it because you all made her feel like she wasn't worth including. How messed up is that? Nobody had an answer. I've listened to you talk about Aunt Claudia's campaigns and Uncle Vincent's cases for years. Nobody ever asks what Mom does. Nobody cares about her work. Tonight she got sent to eat with the kids because she hasn't achieved anything. Amara shook her head. She achieved more than all of you. She just didn't need you to know about it. My heart swelled with pride. My daughter, at 16, understood what my siblings had spent decades failing to grasp. We're going to head out, I said, gathering my things. Thank you for dinner, Vincent. The house looks lovely, by the way. You've taken good care of my investment. Ellie, wait. The mortgage is fine. I'm not calling it in or doing anything dramatic. It's just an asset. I paused at the door. But maybe next Thanksgiving, the seating arrangements could be based on something other than who has the most impressive job title. Just a thought. The drive home was quiet at first. Mom, Amara finally said, that was incredible. I'm not sure incredible is the right word. They've been awful to you forever. And you just handled it. Like it didn't even bother you. It bothered me for a long time. Years of feeling less than, of questioning my choices, of wondering if they were right about me. I smiled at her. But somewhere along the way, I realized their opinion wasn't the measure of my life. My work was. My family, you and your brother, that was the measure. Once I understood that, their dismissal stopped hurting. But you showed them tonight. I showed them the truth. What they do with it is up to them. The fallout took months to settle. Vincent called to apologize awkwardly, clearly coached by his wife who'd been horrified by his behavior. Claudia reached out to reconnect, though her questions about my portfolio felt more like assessment than genuine interest. My mother cried on the phone about missing so much of my life. I accepted the apologies with grace, but I didn't change my boundaries. They could know more about my life now. I was tired of the secrecy, but that didn't mean I trusted them with my vulnerabilities. Trust, once broken, requires more than words to rebuild. Some relationships improved. Vincent became genuinely curious about real estate investing, and we'd developed an unexpected rapport discussing property markets. Others remained surface level. Claudia still measured everything in competitive terms. She'd simply recalibrated her rankings to include my portfolio. My mother tried hardest. She called weekly now, asking about my actual work, my actual life. She'd missed decades, and she knew it. "I'm sorry," she said during one call. "I should have seen you clearly. You saw what I let you see. We both share responsibility. Will you let me see more now? I'm working on it." Amara asked me about it recently. "Mom, do you regret keeping everything secret? All those years of them thinking you were a failure." I considered the question carefully. I regret that it was necessary. I wish I'd had a family that celebrated my path instead of dismissing it. But the secrecy protected me too. It let me build without interference, without judgment, without having to justify every decision to people who'd already concluded I was wrong. But they know now. They know the outcome. They still don't fully understand the journey. I smiled. Some things are just for me. The struggle, the learning, the decades of work that created Meridian Holdings. That's mine. They get to see the success, but the story of how I built it, that belongs to me and Margaret's memory. That's actually beautiful, Mom. That's actually boundaries, sweetheart. The most beautiful word I know. Last Thanksgiving was at Claudia's house. I sat at the main table. They made sure of that. The conversation included my work, my opinions, my contributions. They'd learned, finally, that achievement took many forms, and that the quietest success could be the most substantial. After dinner, Vincent raised his glass. To Ellie, for teaching us that we don't always see what's right in front of us. I accepted the toast gracefully. But later, when the dishes were cleared and the family scattered, I found myself in the kitchen with Amara, drying plates in comfortable silence. "You know what's funny?" she said. "They respect you now because of the money. The portfolio. The mortgage. I know. Does that bother you? It used to. But I've made peace with it." I set down a plate. People see what they're able to see. For years, they could only see my lack of visible success. Now they can only see my visible success. Neither version is the whole truth. What's the whole truth? I smiled at my daughter. That I built something I'm proud of, raised children I adore, and learned to stop measuring my worth by anyone else's standards. That's the whole truth. And that truth existed whether they saw it or not.